we kind of already used elimination to solve, but this is an Algebra 1 concept, so I guess I didn't realize that it was only substitution and graphing. We're solving systems of equations of linear equations in two variables, so now we are going to solve using elimination. So elimination just means, like yesterday, we're just going to make sure that we can change all these signs or multiply something through to go ahead and eliminate one of the variables. In this case, I multiplied a -1 through, and when I add down, my 2x and my -2x cancel out, and I get 2y is equal to 5, where y is equal to 5 over 2. Now, don't be upset. I know it's a little bit of a harder number, but you guys are smart people, and you could go ahead and use elimination to solve this one. So now to figure it out, we're going to plug it back in. When I plug it back in, I'm going to put it back into an original, so I'm going to put it back into right here. I have 2x plus 5 halves is equal to 4. Well, I know 5 halves is 2.5, but I'm going to go ahead and subtract that over. So 4 is 8 over 2, and if I'm subtracting 5 over 2, it looks like 2x is equal to 3 over 2. I got to get rid of the 2. Well, I know when I divide, it's the same thing as multiplying through by 1/2. That was a 2. So x is equal to 3 over 4. Don't be alarmed if you get really funny numbers. All right, I'm going to move on to example 3 right here. The first thing I can do is I can multiply everything through by 2. And when I do this, this will become a -4x, which will reduce with this 4x. So I'm going to show that work right underneath so I can just combine these two. -4x minus 6y is equal to 12. Well, notice when I add down, this cancels out. Sorry, that wasn't a -6y. That should have been a +6y. These cancel out, so I get 0 is equal to 9. Remember, if you get 0 equals 9, the answer will be no solution. If you got 9 equals 9, it would be all solutions. The book or the curriculum sometimes calls it, sometimes you'll have one solution, and that would be your ordered pair of x, y. Sometimes you'll have a no solution, and sometimes you will have all. I sometimes call this all solutions, but they call it infinite number of solutions. So either one I would take, just be aware of both. Let's go down to example 5 here. I'm just kind of picking and choosing what I want to do. I would multiply this whole thing through by a -1 on the bottom to make all these negatives, because when I do that, what cancels out for me? Good, the y's would cancel out. So I have -3x is equal to -9. So x is equal to 3. And now I have to find the y point. I plug it into the easiest. I'm actually going to erase so I can see the easiest. So I'm going to plug it in right here. So 3 plus 3 times what gives me 15. 3 times what gives me 12. So y is equal to 4. Like I said, enjoy this easiness because things are about to get crazy in pre-calc. Okay, there's some ugly problems, but I want to go down to this word problem. An airplane flying into a headwind travels the 1,650-mile flying distance between two cities in 3 hours and 18 minutes. On the return flight, the distance traveled is traveled in 3 hours, period. Find the airspeed of the plane and the speed of the wind. Well, this is a good Algebra 2 problem where we set up charts. So remember the trip going there is into the headwind. So it's going against the headwind. And remember that distance is equal to rate times time. So I guess I don't need 3 sections, but we'll just go with it. So notice rate times time. Time is always in hours, so I'm going to write that right here. Hours is equal to my distance. In the first trip, we are going against the wind. The second trip, we're going with the wind. So we're getting that little tailwind pushing us through. This trip is going to be 3.3. Now, where did I get that? Remember that this 18, this is 3 hours and 18 over 60. So you can either use that as a fraction or you could use it as a decimal. But since we're going to go ahead and put this in our calculators, I just went ahead and used it as a decimal. And remember, the return trip home is just 3 hours. Now, the lovely thing about this is and we know that they're traveling, 1,650. So I set this up as 3.3 times r minus w is equal to 1650. And 3 times r plus w is equal to 1650. Now, if I were you, instead of distributing everything through, I would take that 1650 and divide by 3.3, and we get 500. So this literally becomes, what I did is I divided this through. 3.3. This literally becomes r minus w equals 500. When I divide each side by 3, 1650 divided by 3 is 550. So r plus w equals 550. Make it easy for yourself. And now when I add down, these cancel out, and I get 2r is equal to, why I'm using a calculator, I don't know, 1050. And when I divide each side by 2, I know the rate is 525. So remember that this is the rate of the plane. And I would plug it into an original. So I'm going to plug r in for this r right here. 525 minus what gives me 500? Well, I know that w has to be 25. So these word problems can sometimes throw us off, but remember to just divide through and get that r plus w and r minus w to make your life a little easier.